Start with, and this will be pretty much on the protocol of the handouts that I gave you. I'm going to discuss a bit about evolution and what human evolution really is. We've covered this in the earlier classes, but not really extensively. We touched on it and then bounced over to other things. When our scientists talk about evolution, it seems to be, at least when I perceive it, this very abstract process. There are theories floating around. We have survival of the fittest and those kind of theories. There's not a real cohesive theory about what is evolution, what is the process of evolution. Because if we knew the answers to these things, we would also know the answers as to why we are here, where we came from, and what the purpose of evolution is. And since right now, in our time period, those questions are not particularly answerable to your average person, the question of what is evolution, how does it occur, what does it mean, that's also an open-ended question. Now, in my dealings with the Guardian Alliance, and I have been dealing with them for 27 years, ever since I was a child, I was taught in a framework of belief that answered some of the unanswerable questions. The concept of human evolution was presented to me in a very unique framework, and it's the framework that we now teach. Evolution, according to the Guardian Alliance, which is the Guardian Alliance is a very large organization. It has beings from other dimensional fields, and some of them are physical, some of them are humans, but many of them are what we would consider extraterrestrial. They're from levels of what we call higher evolution that humans here don't even know exist. When they explained to me how evolution worked, I was very, very fascinated, because they did have an answer to the question, what is evolution? They had a very specific answer. Their answer to me was, evolution is the process of dimensional ascension. What's dimensional ascension? Okay, before you can understand dimensional ascension, you need to understand what dimensions are, how many of them are there, how do they relate to each other. In the work of the Guardian Alliance, all this information has been provided. We are dealing with the structure of 24 15-dimensional matrices that compose, each of them are composed of 5 harmonic universes. So here's a structure. Here's a structure our scientists haven't really even attempted to explore. They might get there at some point. Now within that structure, what would evolution mean? If we're not just what we see before our eyes, if we're not dealing with a reality field that is just the 3-dimensional earth life that we perceive, what else might we be dealing with? Now, I have learned with my experiences with the Guardian Alliance that their information is true. I don't expect anybody else to believe it offhand, yet when you follow it for a while and you see the logic behind it, it's hard to argue with it after a while. And then you start to remember things. When it starts to trigger your own memory, you start to realize there's something to this. So the program of evolution is very, very interesting. If evolution is the process of dimensional ascension, that implies that we are moving upward in some type of dimensional scale. Well, the dimensional scale is 15 dimensions, and you can picture it as an egg, and that egg has 15 dimensions stacked from 1 up through 15, with a center point, which would represent the 8th dimension. Now, the dimensions in a 15-dimensional matrix are structured into triads. 3 dimensions go together to create a 3-dimensional reality system, just like we have here. There are different levels of these. So in a 15-dimensional matrix, you would have 5 harmonic universes, which are 3-dimensional systems. And this is the structure of evolution we are dealing with. For we are beings, and our planet is a planetary body that is evolving within this structure. When we complete our evolution here, there are places to go beyond here, many of them. If we are in harmonic universe 1, which would be the dimensions of 1, 2, and 3, we still have the dimensions of 4 through 15 to evolve through, and then maybe some. And there is some after that, but they're not dimensionalized anymore. So there's a whole framework going on here that, from my experience of seeing models of universal structure, this is unique to my experience from reviewing what is available out here. I find it very, very helpful, because it helped me to understand what it means to be a being here now and what my evolutionary process is. Now, in the process of evolving through a 15-dimensional scale, the DNA has a large part to do with this. And this is an interesting concept because there are many people that are very spiritual people who are aware that there are higher universes to evolve into. They might call them heaven or, God worlds or something like that. But they're aware of a higher level of evolution. Yet many of them absolutely refuse to acknowledge the concept of DNA and biology having anything to do with this. It's almost as if we have to sever our body and our consciousness completely in order to be an evolving being. And this is not the way it works. The way it works is actually rather exciting. Evolution of our spirituality, of our consciousness, which would be expansion from what it is now. That would be evolving to expand and become more. And de-evolving would be becoming less and fragmenting. Now, as we're expanding our consciousness as spiritual beings, we are also affecting our DNA. And this is something that some groups out there are aware of in the New Age movement and that kind of thing, but not a lot of them are. The DNA is a transducer of frequency. It's the first manifestation step between an energy imprint that serves as a blueprint and the manifestation of physical particles that flesh out a physical body. So DNA is important in the process of evolution. In the classes that we've been doing, we've gotten into the structure of the DNA. We've basically identified that once upon a time, in a place kind of far away, many, many years ago, 560 million years ago, to be exact, almost, we were a race of beings. We did not start on this planet. We did not come from apes. We came from a level of higher evolution. And we had a genetic code that had 12 strands of DNA activated within it. That 12-strand pattern is called the silicate matrix. And the silicate matrix still remains as a dormant potential within the humans of today. That's what these classes are about. We have the abilities within us, if we can understand what the process of DNA evolution and how that applies to our consciousness, if we can understand this process, we can bring those potentials of 12 strands of DNA back into activation. Now, we have 2 identified strands, as far as our scientific community knows. And we attribute things, the genetic characteristics, eye color, hair color, disease sometimes, to genetic factors. There are levels of DNA structure that are even below that. There are base structures of DNA. And when we get into this, we're getting into something called chelantic morphogenetic science. It's the science of morphogenetic fields. Morphogenetic fields are the form-holding blueprints that create grids of electromagnetic energy upon which matter particles can compose themselves to form matter forms. So when we're dealing with our DNA, we are dealing with a level that's even below that is the morphogenetic field. In the course that we're going to do today, there was some very interesting new information given to me, and that's why I'm excited to present it to the people who've had the material from before, and I'm trying to figure